Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold with your host, Bryan Vogt. Are you wanting or even thinking about selling your house but don't know where to start? Good thing you found Ready, Set, Sold. And now, real estate broker, Bryan Vogt.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold. I am your host, Bryan Vogt. How are you doing? The weather is just always crazy this time of year. I mean, I have to start with that because Sunday we have a snowstorm, and then by Tuesday we're having light jackets on, and the snow is pretty well gone, and life goes on, and this is springtime in the St. Louis Metro East. Gotta love it. Let's go into also the market, and that's what we're loving too, and sellers are absolutely loving it. I've been talking the last probably month or so, and really it's true. If you are even thinking about selling your home, maybe you had some bad experiences even as late as last year, November, December, didn't work out. I would highly encourage you to get back on the market because we're seeing some amazing things. The shortages that we are finding of buyers trying to find homes is really getting to be a problem in that side for the buyers, but that's a great problem if you're the seller. So more and more people are getting prices they're asking for and time factors that we haven't seen for a very long time, as far as the speed of which buyers are acting upon. With that said, we're also going to be talking about the other side of the coin, and that is leasing. I have Renee Wittenauer, who is with Cecil Property Management. Renee, you there?
Hi, Bryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. And what we really want to talk about today in this segment is talking about the factors when it comes to leasing versus buying. So if you're a buyer, you know, maybe it's a great idea to buy a home, but not always. Not always. And you've got some thoughts on that, some things that you want to talk about, Renee, as far as leasing options versus buying.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people, you know, of course, one of the big dreams of every American is home ownership. So a lot of people look forward to buying their first home, upgrading, and going to their second home. And then you see as people tail off and retire, they may end up renting instead of buying because they don't want the headaches and everything that come with buying. So renting can be a really, really good option for people if you're looking for something with less responsibility, less maintenance. You don't have to worry about roof replacement, siding replacement if a big storm comes through, or just your general normal wear and tear. We have a lot of great condo communities around here where you can rent in there, and then, you know, your lawn care is included, so you don't have that responsibility of having to take care of the exterior as well. That also goes, you know, true for any maintenance that goes on in the house. So if somebody ends up renting instead of buying and their, you know, water heater breaks and floods the basement, they may have their contents to worry about, but as far as the big picture with the owners, that would fall underneath the owner's insurance. So it's just a little more ease of living, I guess, whenever you go to rent instead of buy. So there are some people that would prefer that as well.
Well, and that's a good point. And I think, and I'm sure that what you described rarely happens, but it's still out there as far as any type of flooding or having anything major happen to it. But it can be a factor that people have to be aware of and know about. The other thing that we run into, and maybe you run into the same thing, is sometimes people are coming in from out of town. And yes, military is a good example, but there are people that actually move down to, you know, from Chicago. We had just recently somebody coming in from California. And that could be a situation where they're not sure of their circumstances. Maybe this is a new position they're taking, but they're not 100% sure. They not trying to put a jinx on anybody, but they're not sure if this is going to be a permanent, or maybe it's a 1 year or a year and a half situation, and they know they're going to be moving on. That would also make sense, right?
Definitely, yeah. We get a lot of people that are looking, especially being close to St. Louis and with the hospitals, you know, coming into the O'Fallon area and then St. Louis, where, you know, for various reasons they're getting job transfers to this area, and they just want to get to know the area first before they rush and, you know, come here on a weekend, find a house, buy it, leave, come back to move in kind of thing. So it's a good way, if you're renting, it's a good way to basically kind of test drive this area. See exactly where you want to live, see how your commute is, make sure that you like your new job. That way you don't, move across country or, move from wherever, and you end up starting a new job. And if that job doesn't work out, then you're locked into a house that you bought. So, and we've seen that happen. It's not something that happens all the time, but I mean, you do definitely have where people may get a different promotion or another job comes up and they have to move quickly. So a good question to ask whenever you're coming is, how long do you plan to stay here? Is this job only going to look to be a 2-year job, a 3-year job? Do you see it being, 10, 20 years down the road? Because that'll be a good gauge, too, as far as does it make sense for you to rent or does it make sense for you to buy?
In other words, is this maybe a stepping stone, depending on, especially larger companies? It's not, and the military would be a company, too. I mean, they're a business in themselves. But it could be a situation where we've seen it happen. I'm sure same thing with you. Just tying in with Scott Air Force Base is that there are positions that people come into that really are starting out maybe temporary, but could be full-time, but they don't really know. So leasing could be a strong option for those too.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And so whenever you're looking and you're weighing your buying versus renting option, it's good to keep in mind if it is going to, if you want to be here 2 years, but you really want to buy a house, is to do the research before and find out what it would rent for. So I want to buy a house. I know I'm only going to be here 2 years, but I see this home being a great investment for me to keep long term. So do your research along with making sure that you get a good sales price, but do your research to see if you will be able to rent it whenever it's time for you to either move on to a different location or move up to a different property. So that's where I can come in as a property manager. And I have people reach out to me all the time that says, hey, if I were to rent this house, what would the rent price be? Because they want to see what it compares to their mortgage. Sometimes they find they can rent it cheaper than they can buy it. Sometimes they find they can buy it cheaper than they can rent it. So then it's a great investment for them to live in for those 2 years. And then whenever they leave, they got an investment property that could, benefit their retirement portfolio down the road.
I love that too. And we've had that, I'm sure you have too. We've had situations and I'll just talk about the military. It doesn't always have to be the military, but that's a big force, especially in the Metro East and the St. Louis area. That recently, not too long ago, we had a military person coming in, and they actually had 2 other houses, and they used that same strategy that they talked with a leasing company along with talking with the realtor, and found out that, their numbers could work out to where they literally are using that as a retirement. I mean, that is, they're putting their 20 years in, or it could be, this situation 20 years in, and knowing by that period of time that not only will the house be paid off the way they structure the deal, but they have that income coming in, which gives them more flexibility. So I love that approach. I'm glad you pointed that out.
It's great. I had an agent I talked to the other day, and she had asked me about a property that was for sale, and she had a buyer that was thinking about buying it as an investment. And what she asked me the rent price, so I researched it. And the high price I shot her was about $300 a month lower than what his mortgage payment would be. So I was able to come in and, urge him to be cautious and do some more homework on it because the investment to me didn't match up. And then I've also been able to deliver great news where it's like, yeah, you need to do this because you're going to make, $500 a month more than your mortgage payment. So it'd be a great investment. So it can help, people get really good deals and avoid the really bad deals and stuff too.
And I think we've talked about this before, but I think it's always about getting your information, getting, what's best for you as a client, as whether you're buying or you're going to be leasing, finding out what your situation is. And I think that's so important. The more information that people have, they can best make their decisions. There's no guarantees, and you know that, Renee. But, right. Things do change in markets. But again, at least having a roadmap of where you think you can how this can turn out. And I'm sure you've run into this too, and you can talk about this too. A lot of people love it here. I mean, they come here, they do buy a home, and the idea is they plan on coming back, that maybe they are going to be out for 3 or 4 years or even 2 or 3 years and come back. So that's a win-win again.
Yeah, I love asking whenever I go on a new listing appointment and, using the military as an example, and they're getting orders and they're leaving. I love the question of, do you plan to come back? Some people say, no, we're going to retire elsewhere. But some people, they love the area. You see the excitement in their voice. They light up, their face lights up. They got a big smile on their face. And absolutely, we want to come back. And that helps me and my pricing and my marketing and just knowing the end result that they're wanting too, that, okay, this is a long-term investment and they want to come back and move in real easy. It's not a quick turn kind of thing. So that helps everybody get on the same page too and work the numbers how we need to make it work. And hopefully somebody else can pay off their house for a few years, and whenever they retire, they come back and it's, low mortgage or mortgage payment free on it.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. We're running out of time for this segment. We've been talking with Renee Wittenauer of Cecil Property Management. Had some great information, but we're going to be back with Renee talking about what to look for in a property manager. And that is so, so critical. Not just a property manager, but also who you're going to be leasing it from the landlord. We'll be back in a few minutes. We'll talk soon.